Have you ever walked into a room and noticed the curtains just didn't look right? Maybe they were too short, hung too high, or just didn't fit the space. It happens to the best of us. But here's the thing, those little mistakes can make your space look amateur and unpolished. Want to avoid looking like a curtain-hanging newbie? In this video, we'll show you 8 common curtain-hanging mistakes that scream amateur, and how to fix them easily. Whether you're a first-timer or just need a quick refresher, stick with us. By the end, you'll know exactly how to hang your curtains like a pro. Ready to transform your windows? Let's dive in. 1. Hanging curtains too low. Let's kick things off with a big one. Hanging your curtains too low. This is a mistake many people make, and it's actually pretty easy to do without even realizing it. You might think that hanging your curtains just above the windowsill or slightly below the frame is fine, but here's the thing. It actually cuts your space off and makes the room feel smaller. If your curtains are too low, they might cover part of the windowsill, blocking natural light. So, how do you fix it? The solution is simpler than you think. Just raise the curtain rod. You should aim to hang the rod about 4 to 6 inches above the window frame. This small change makes a huge difference. Why? Because raising the rod helps to make your room look taller and more spacious. It draws the eyes upward, giving the illusion of higher ceilings, which is exactly what you want, especially in smaller spaces. Another bonus to hanging the rod higher is that it allows your curtains to drape better. If the rod is too low, your curtains will bunch up awkwardly at the bottom, creating a less than flattering look. But when you raise the rod, your curtains will hang more naturally, creating soft, elegant folds that flow perfectly. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to hang the rod too high there. It should stay in balance with the window size and room proportions. Aim for that sweet spot of 4 to 6 inches above the frame. This makes sure the curtains stay in proportion with the rest of the room while still giving the room that airy, spacious feeling. To wrap it up, raising your curtain rod is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to elevate your room's look. It's a quick fix that makes your room feel more open, modern, and well-designed. It's an easy change that can make your space feel more polished without costing a lot or requiring major renovations. Now that you've got your curtains at the right height, let's move on to the next mistake, getting the length just right. Trust me, this one's just as important. 2. Curtains that are too short. Now let's talk about mistake number 2, curtains that are too short. This is another common error, and it's one that can make your space look unfinished or a little awkward. If your curtains don't reach the floor or are too short for the window, they can make the whole room feel disconnected. So, how do you fix this? The easiest way is to make sure your curtains are long enough to cover the entire window and reach the floor. Ideally, your curtains should just touch the floor, or even slightly puddle on the ground for a more dramatic, luxurious look. But what if your curtains are way too short and don't even come close to the floor? Well, it might be time to go for longer curtains. When curtains are too short, it also cuts off the flow of the room. You don't get that soft, flowing look that adds elegance and sophistication. Longer curtains, on the other hand, draw the eyes down to the floor and create a seamless look that ties everything together. Plus, it gives your windows and room a more cohesive, polished feel. Here's a pro tip. If you want to make your room look taller, consider getting curtains that are longer than the window itself. Aim for curtains that just touch the floor or even go a few inches beyond. This helps create the illusion of extra height and opens up the space. It's a simple trick that makes a world of difference. And if you're worried about your curtains dragging on the floor and getting dirty, you can always have them hemmed to the perfect length. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What if I have a small window and long curtains just seem too much? Don't worry. You can still go for longer curtains. But instead of letting them pool on the floor, simply let them hang just above the ground for that sleek, polished finish. This gives you a clean, sophisticated look without overwhelming the space. Now that you've got your curtains the perfect length, let's move on to mistake number 3, where we'll talk about getting the right curtain style. Stay tuned, it's going to be good. 3. Choosing the wrong curtain style. Let's move on to mistake number 3, choosing the wrong curtain style. This is something a lot of people overlook. When it comes to curtains, style matters just as much as size. If you pick curtains that don't match the room's vibe, they can make the whole space feel off. Imagine putting heavy, dark curtains in a bright, airy room. It just doesn't feel right. So, how do you fix this? Start by thinking about the mood you want to create. For a casual, relaxed room, go for lighter fabrics, like linen or cotton. These materials let in more light and keep the space feeling open and airy. They're perfect for living rooms, kitchens, or bedrooms where you want to create a relaxed atmosphere. On the other hand, if you're looking to create a more formal or cozy vibe, heavier fabrics like velvet or brocade are a great choice. These materials add richness and texture to the room. They're ideal for spaces like dining rooms or home offices, where you want to bring in a touch of luxury or warmth. It's also important to consider the pattern or color of your curtains. If your room already has bold colors or patterns, you might want to go with neutral or solid colored curtains. This helps balance things out and doesn't overwhelm the space. But if your room is more neutral or monochromatic, you can add some personality with patterned curtains. When choosing the right style, think about the functionality too. Do you need blackout curtains to block light, or do you just want something decorative? If you need a mix of both, look for curtains with a line backing. This gives you the beauty of soft fabric but also helps with light control and privacy. One last thing to think about is the curtain's heading or top design. There are several options: grommet, pleated, rod pocket, or tab top. Each one gives a different look. Grommet curtains give a modern, sleek appearance, while pleated curtains add a touch of traditional elegance. So, when choosing your curtains, don't just think about color and fabric. Consider the overall style and feel of the room. It's all about finding that perfect balance between function and design. Now that you've got your style sorted, let's move on to mistake number 4. Something that could easily ruin the whole look if you're not careful. Stay with me, it's going to be fun. 4. Ignoring proper curtain hooks and rings. Now, let's tackle mistake number 4. Ignoring proper curtain hooks and rings. You might have the perfect curtains, but if you don't use the right hooks or rings, they can look sloppy. It's easy to overlook, but these little details make a big difference in how your curtains hang. Using mismatched or cheap rings can cause your curtains to sag or bunch up awkwardly. So, how do you fix this? The solution is simple: choose the right hooks and rings for your curtains. First, make sure the rings or hooks match the type of curtain you have. If your curtains have grommets, make sure you use a rod that fits inside the grommets. This allows your curtains to slide easily and hang neatly. When selecting rings, look for ones that are sturdy and match the material of your curtain rod. Metal rings work great for heavier curtains, like velvet or brocade, while plastic rings can be a better choice for lighter fabrics, like linen or cotton. Another important tip is to avoid overloading your curtain rod with too many hooks or rings. This can cause the rod to bend or break, especially if the curtains are heavy. Instead, spread out the hooks evenly, and if needed, choose a thicker, more durable curtain rod to support the weight. The right hooks and rings not only help your curtains hang properly, but they also add to the overall look. Matching rings can give your curtains a more polished, cohesive feel. If you're looking for a modern look, go for sleek, minimalist rings in chrome or black. And don't forget about the curtain rod itself. A strong, well-chosen rod is just as important as the hooks and rings. Make sure the rod is long enough to cover the full width of your window. If it's too short, the curtains will look cramped, and if it's too long, they won't hang properly. So, while hooks and rings might seem like a small detail, they play a big role in how your curtains look and function. Get them right, and your curtains will hang beautifully and work just as they should. Now that we've got the hardware sorted, let's move on to mistake number 5, where we'll talk about how not measuring properly can mess everything up. Stay tuned, this one's a game changer. 5. Not measuring properly. Next up is mistake number 5, failing to measure your windows properly. This is a huge one and can completely mess up the look of your curtains. If you don't measure the window size correctly, your curtains may end up too wide or too narrow. Too wide. and they'll look bulky and overwhelming. So, how do you fix this? Start by measuring your window before you buy any curtains. First, measure the width of the window from one side to the other. This will tell you how wide the curtain should be. You want your curtains to be about 1.5 to 2 times the width of your window to give them that nice, full, luxurious look when they're drawn. Next, measure the height. To do this, you'll want to decide where you want your curtain rod to be placed. If you're following the tip from earlier and hanging the rod a few inches above the window frame, measure from that point down to where you want the curtains to end. Here's another tip. When measuring, it's always a good idea to add a couple of inches to the length to give a little extra room. This way, you avoid having curtains that are too short or not covering the window completely. Also, when buying curtains, be aware that they come in different sizes. Some curtains are labeled as standard or short, but this doesn't always mean they'll fit your window perfectly. If you're unsure, it's always better to go for curtains that are a little bit too long rather than too short. You can always hem them if needed, but a curtain that's too short can't be fixed without completely replacing it. So take your time, measure twice, and make sure you get the right size. Getting the measurements right might seem tedious, but it's a crucial step. It helps your curtains fit perfectly and ensures they will look polished and balanced in your space. Now that you've nailed the measurements, let's move on to mistake number 6. Something that can easily spoil your curtains if you're not careful. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. 6. Hanging curtains too high or too low. Let's talk about mistake number 6. Hanging your curtains too high or too low. It might sound simple, but the height at which you hang your curtains can really change how your room feels. If you hang them too low, they can make the room look cramped and the window seem smaller. But if you hang them too high, it can make your ceiling feel out of balance. Getting the right height is key to making your curtains look just right. So, how do you fix this? The best rule of thumb is to hang your curtain rod a few inches above the window frame. This trick makes your windows look taller and your ceilings higher. Generally, about 4 to 6 inches above the window frame works well. But if you want to make your room look extra grand, you can hang the rod even higher, around 8 to 12 inches above the window. This gives the illusion of bigger windows and a more open, airy feel to the room. But what if you've already hung your curtains too high or too low? Don't worry, it's an easy fix. You can adjust the curtain rod to the right height. It's better to spend a little time getting the height just right, rather than living with curtains that throw off the entire balance of the room. Another thing to consider is how long you want your curtains to be. Ideally, your curtains should just touch the floor or have a slight break. If they hang too high above the floor, they might look unfinished. If they pool on the floor, it could create a messy look, unless you're going for a more dramatic style. It's all about finding the balance that works for your space. If you have high ceilings, don't be afraid to hang your curtains high to accentuate the space. If you have low ceilings, hanging curtains a bit higher than the window will still make the room feel bigger and more open. Hanging your curtains at the right height can completely transform your room, giving it a polished, professional look. Now, let's move on to mistake number 7, where we'll talk about fabric choice. Trust me, this one can make or break the look of your curtains. Keep watching. 7. Choosing the wrong fabric. Now, let's dive into mistake number 7, choosing the wrong fabric for your curtains. This is a common mistake that can completely change the look and feel of a room. The fabric you pick affects not only the style but also the function of your curtains. If you choose the wrong fabric, it can make your room feel off or uncomfortable. So, how do you fix this? Start by thinking about what kind of vibe you want to create. If you want a light, airy look, opt for fabrics like linen, cotton, or sheer materials. These fabrics let in a lot of light, making the room feel open and breezy. They're perfect for living rooms, kitchens, or bedrooms where you want to let the sun shine in. However, if you're looking for something more formal or cozy, go for heavier fabrics like velvet, brocade, or thick wool. These fabrics add warmth and luxury to a space. They're perfect for spaces like dining rooms, home offices, or bedrooms where you want to block out light and keep the room feeling warm and inviting. Another important factor is how much light you want to let in. If privacy is important, you'll want to pick a fabric that blocks light, like velvet or blackout materials. These are especially great for bedrooms where you want to create a dark, restful space. When it comes to color, choose a fabric that matches your room's color scheme. Lighter fabrics in neutral tones like white, beige, or gray are versatile and can go with almost any room. Choosing the right fabric for your curtains is key to making them look and function well in your space. It's all about matching the fabric to the room's needs and your personal style. Now that you've got the fabric sorted, let's move on to the final mistake. Mistake number 8, where we'll talk about curtain length. This one's a biggie, so don't miss it. 8. Getting the curtain length wrong. Finally, let's talk about mistake number 8, getting the curtain length wrong. This is one of the biggest and most noticeable mistakes you can make. If your curtains are too short, they'll look like they don't fit the window properly. If they're too long, they can end up dragging on the floor or looking sloppy. So, how do you fix this? First, you need to decide how long you want your curtains to be. If you want them to just touch the floor, measure from the top of the rod down to the floor. This will give your room a clean, tidy look. If you're unsure, it's always safer to err on the side of slightly longer curtains. Curtains that are too short can't be fixed, but you can always hem long curtains to make them the perfect length. Remember, when you choose longer curtains, they can make your room look taller and more spacious. Another important thing to consider is the type of window you're working with. If you have a small window, shorter curtains might be a better choice. But for larger windows, long, full curtains will help balance out the space and create a more grand look. Here's a quick tip to help with curtain length. When you're hanging the curtains, temporarily use tape to mark where the fabric should fall. Stand back and see how it looks from different angles. This will give you a better idea of the perfect length before you make any permanent decisions. The right curtain length can make all the difference in your space. It helps frame your windows beautifully and adds a finishing touch to the room. Now that you know how to get your curtain length just right, it's time to wrap up everything we've learned and give you a quick summary of how to avoid these common mistakes. Stay tuned. So there you have it, 8 curtain hanging mistakes that could be ruining your room's vibe, and the simple fixes that can instantly transform your space from meh to magazine-worthy. Remember, curtains aren't just window coverings. They're style statements that can make or break the entire room. If this video opened your eyes to even one mistake you didn't realize you were making, smash that like button. And if you're serious about leveling up your home decor game, hit subscribe and ring the bell. We've got tons of tips coming that you won't want to miss. Got a curtain horror story? A tricky window situation you're stuck on? Drop it in the comments. We read every one and might even feature your question in our next video. Now grab those curtain rods, fix those mistakes, and let your windows shine the way they were meant to. You've got this. Happy decorating!